In an important and high-stakes speech on the Senate floor, Senator Chuck Schumer, the leader of the Democratic minority, made it clear this afternoon that Democrats will not support the stopgap funding bill passed by House Republicans. The bill, designed to avert a looming government shutdown, has been met with significant resistance from Democrats, who argue that it contains cuts to crucial services and programs, making it unpalatable for their party. The proposed bill, known as a continuing resolution, CR, was passed by House Republicans, but now faces a steep uphill battle in the Senate. For the bill to advance, it would require 60 votes to overcome procedural hurdles, such as the filibuster, but with Republicans holding only 53 seats in the Senate, and Rand Paul's vocal opposition to the bill, they are currently far short of the votes needed to push the legislation through. Schumer's strong rejection of the House Republican proposal, speaking from the Senate floor, Schumer did not mince words in expressing his frustration with the Republican-controlled House's approach to funding the government. He argued that the process had been deeply flawed and partisan, with no consultation or collaboration with congressional Democrats. Schumer's comments highlighted the stark division between the two parties in Washington, where bipartisan cooperation seems increasingly elusive. Funding the government should be a bipartisan effort, Schumer said, but Republicans chose a partisan path, drafting their continuing resolution without any input from congressional Democrats. This decision, according to Schumer, is what now makes it impossible for Republicans to secure the necessary votes in the Senate to advance their bill. In his remarks, Schumer emphasized the importance of unity within the Democratic Party, stating that Democrats are unified in support of a clean April 11th CR. This alternative proposal, he explained, would keep the government open and provide Congress with more time to negotiate a bipartisan funding solution that could pass both chambers. What is at stake in the government shutdown debate? The debate over funding the government is not just a procedural matter. It has real-world implications for millions of Americans. If Congress cannot pass a funding bill by the deadline, essential government services and programs could be disrupted, affecting everything from Social Security checks to national defense. Additionally, a shutdown would put government workers who rely on their paychecks at risk of being furloughed without pay. For many, the failure to pass a funding bill represents more than just a legislative impasse. It is a sign of the deepening partisan divide in Washington, where cooperation between Democrats and Republicans has become increasingly difficult to achieve. Schumer's comments serve as a reminder of the stakes involved in these high-stakes negotiations, as a shutdown could have far-reaching consequences for both the government and the American public. The political calculations behind Schumer's strong stance against the House Republican bill is not just a matter of principle, but also political strategy. The Democratic minority leader is positioning his party as the defenders of a bipartisan approach to governance, hoping to galvanize public support and place pressure on Republicans to compromise. In this context, Schumer's remarks are an attempt to frame the debate in a way that highlights the stark contrast between the two parties. While Republicans have chosen to go it alone, Schumer is advocating for a more collaborative approach that he believes will ultimately lead to a better outcome for the American people. By rejecting the Republican plan, Schumer is also signaling to his colleagues and the broader political establishment that the Democratic Party will not back down when it comes to issues of fairness and inclusivity in the legislative process. Democrats, Schumer argues, are ready to do their part to keep the government open, but they will not be forced into accepting a bill that harms essential services and programs. The Republican dilemma in the Senate. While Schumer's position is clear, the Republicans in the Senate are now left to navigate a complicated political landscape. With only 53 seats in the upper chamber, the Republican Party lacks the votes to pass their proposed funding bill without support from Democrats. However, with the party divided on the issue, as evidenced by Rand Paul's opposition, Republicans are in a difficult position. They will either need to find a way to secure bipartisan support for their proposal or face the prospect of a shutdown, including Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, are under intense pressure to find a way to avert a shutdown while also placating the conservative wing of their party, which is demanding significant cuts to government spending. This political calculus has led to an impasse, with each side waiting for the other to make the first move. For Republicans, the clock is ticking. With the shutdown deadline rapidly approaching, there is growing concern that they will not be able to rally the necessary votes to pass their bill, particularly if Democrats remain steadfast in their opposition. This leaves open the possibility that both parties will have to come to the table and negotiate a new, more balanced proposal that can garner enough support in both chambers of Congress. The role of the public in shaping the debate. As the debate over government funding continues, public opinion will likely play a critical role in shaping the outcome. A government shutdown would have immediate consequences for millions of Americans, from federal workers to beneficiaries of government programs. Public outcry over the potential disruption of essential services could force lawmakers to reconsider their positions and seek a more cooperative solution. Polling data has consistently shown that Americans are opposed to government shutdowns and the disruption of vital services. This sentiment could put additional pressure on both parties to reach a compromise that avoids the damaging consequences of a shutdown. In the current political climate, where partisan divisions are sharper than ever, public opinion could serve as a powerful force in pushing lawmakers to move beyond their ideological differences and find common ground. The path forward. Will bipartisanship prevail? As the Senate prepares for what could be a contentious and high-stakes vote, the question remains, will bipartisanship prevail? Or will the political divide in Washington lead to a shutdown? For now, Schumer's message is clear. Democrats are ready to work together, but only if the process is fair and inclusive. We should vote on that, Schumer urged, referring to the clean CR proposal. I hope our Republican colleagues will join us to avoid a shutdown on Friday. The coming days will be critical in determining whether the two parties can put aside their differences and find a path forward that keeps the government open and functions in the best interests of the American people. What's next for the Senate and House Republicans? With Schumer's remarks sending a strong message to Republicans, the focus now shifts to how Senate Republicans will respond. Will they attempt to negotiate with Democrats to secure the necessary votes? Or will they double down on their partisan approach and face the risk of a government shutdown? If the shutdown occurs, both parties will likely face significant political fallout. Republicans in particular will have to grapple with the fallout from a shutdown that many voters will see as avoidable. At the same time, Schumer and the Democrats are betting that their position will resonate with the American public, who may view the GOP's tactics as overly partisan and damaging to essential services. Final thoughts. A fight for the future of governance in Washington. As the deadline looms, one thing is clear. The future of governance in Washington is at a crossroads. The ongoing battle over government funding is not just a dispute over numbers and spending. It is a battle over the direction of the country's political future. Will bipartisanship win the day? Or will partisan gridlock continue to dominate? As the clock ticks down, the pressure on both parties to find a resolution intensifies. In the coming days, the American people will be watching closely to see if Washington can rise to the occasion and avoid a shutdown that could have far-reaching consequences. In the end, it may not just be the fate of government funding that hangs in the balance, but the very future of bipartisan cooperation in a deeply divided Washington.